Quick question. Is it possible to outdo your past success? Yes, that's a quick answer. Yes, I think it is possible. With that being said, now let's go ahead and put this into the music industry. Yes, I told you all. I was gonna have a music video coming for you all. Told you. All right. Let's talk about this. Oh. Music. We all love it. We all love music. We all listening to it. I don't know what kinds you all listen to, but I know me. I like listening to rap. I know it's stereotypical for a black guy, right? I like listening to rap, R&B, classic rock, alternative, house, maybe some country. I'm from Kentucky, and not really, but I'll dive into some. But all over, right? We all love music. I don't know what you listen to. I'm happy you listen to whatever you listen to. Send me some music recs. I actually like listening to a bunch of different music. But we all know when artists enter into the music industry and they first start to blow, they enter this white hot phase. As Jay-Z once coined it and said it before. There's this white hot phase that each artist, when they enter the industry, they come in, all eyes on them. You got to make sure your first single is great. Your first album is good. Like, the machine is behind you. That's like when you're supposed to, make the most money. When you sign your deal, that's when you trying to blow. You trying to make the most money back and recoup whatever you make, because that's a lot of stuff that the labels pump into you to get you out there and put your name out there, to market you, to let you go on tour, this and the third. You want to make sure you have all that bread, right? That's what you want. So that white hot phase is very important for every artist in their career, because that's when the world gets to know who they are. Who is their artist? What kind of music do they make? Is this somebody I'm going to want to listen to a couple months from now? Is this song going to appeal to whatever audience it's supposed to appeal to, or even the masses, and break through and, be such a global sensation? During that time, too, people will tend to think that that's an artist's best album. Some cases, it is an artist's best album. I know in the case of when people think that that's their best album, let's use Kanye, for example. A lot of people think College Dropout is his best album. That falls along with the people who think his first 3 albums is his best albums and he hasn't been the same since. I'm not in that camp, obviously, but some people tend to think that. In some cases, with some artists who don't tend to grow or tend to develop their sound, their first album is the best album. Or even they do try to develop a sound, it just doesn't work. Sometimes that first album is the best album. But to really be great in the music industry, it's hard. It's not as easy. Sure, you can have a one-hit wonder. You can have a big single that might blow up and go viral. But how long can you stay at the top? It's hard to get there, but it's even harder to stay relevant and stay as great after 5 months, 5 years, 10 years. It's hard. Back to, like I said, necessarily, not all the time an artist's best album is their first album. I know, I'm going to give you some of the artists I think of, my favorite albums from them. The Weeknd. My favorite album from him is probably After Hours. And that's his fifth album? Tyler, the Creator. His most recent album, Call Me If You Get Lost. That's my favorite album from him. And that's what? Fifth, sixth album, if I'm correct. Jay-Z. My favorite album from him is 444. That was his last album, the 13th one. Or it might be the Black Album. I know that was the album he put out before he retired. One of those two is my favorite album. And that wasn't his first album. None of these albums altogether was any of those artists' first albums. And artists can have a great album later in their career, or have their best album later in their career. Going back to Kanye, my favorite album from Kanye, and I think what is his best is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Because a lot of people say that it's his magnum opus. You can achieve greatness obviously as you start off, but the magnum opus is the peak of what people say it is, of what people say that artist's career is. And to me, that's his best album. That's his magnum opus. sure, some quality of his work has dipped and like grown since then. Like I think his last album, Donda, was still a great album. It's hard. It's hard for any artist to have longevity like a Kanye West, to have a longevity like a Jay-Z, to have a longevity even a Todd Creator, or even like this guy, Drake. You know, he's been here this entire time. We haven't even talked about him yet. We're gonna get into that. Like this guy. My favorite album from him is obviously this one. Fans tend to think that after an artist reach said peak in their minds, that they're never the same, that they've fallen off, as the kids like to say, that they've fallen off. They're not the same ever since then, and they're just never going to reach that success. Now, is that true? No. To me, I think no. I think that's the answer to that is no, because I think fans sometimes we get fixated on an album that we fell in love with an artist. Like let's take this album for example. We fell in love with Take Care so much that if anything doesn't sound like a Take Care, it doesn't sound like a Nothing Was the Same, or doesn't sound like If You're Reading This It's Too Late, it's not great. It's not good. It's not the same. It's not the same Drake. Well, let's go to Travis Scott. Another artist who I like. If it's not, people would think like with his last album, Utopia, I thought it was a great album. People would think, I was expecting an Astroworld type stuff, so it's not that good. It's okay. And I think people, especially in this day and age, you know, and I feel like even before social media, I'm not even gonna say in this day and age, I feel like since music was even a thing, people will get fixated on such a body of work that an artist put out. Anything that doesn't sound like is that, people think it's not good. It's not great. Even let's take it to movies. Avengers. You know, Avengers Endgame. Everybody's like, oh, Marvel has went down since the Endgame. Now, truthfully, yeah, their quality of work hasn't been the same, but I feel like they still put out some great work since then. Loki. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was pretty good. I thought Doctor Strange 2 was pretty good. As some other projects as well. Back to music though. Greatness in the music industry to me is defined by consistency in the artist's output and the quality of music the artist puts out that attributes to their longevity. Because it's really hard to stay relevant in the music industry, especially in this day and age where everybody's attention span has gone down due to everybody having phones, social media, you have TikToks and you have short form videos, and if you're not giving it to me in this way in short 1 minute or less than 5 minutes, it's garbage. Like a lot of songs you see nowadays are around the 2 to 3 minute range, whereas before you're used to seeing 3 to 5 minute songs, to the point that everybody thinks, oh, this song is so long, it's so long. I couldn't I will listen and I will talk to people, and people won't listen to music based off what they hear in the first 30 seconds. They'll just try to skim through. Don't even give things a chance. I'm still a person that if I'm listening to an album, I'm listening to it straight through, front through back, one through the last song. I'm going straight through because, for one, that's how an artist attends us to listen to it. If that's how to make the album. Sometimes artists do make albums where you can kind of skip around and it's not really meant to go in sequential order. I tend to favor those type of albums that are made to listen in sequential order. But there are a bunch of albums I like that are not made that way. But people do tend to think that way and go based off what they see the features, who's featured on a song, how long is the song. They'll think about those things, and instead of taking in the art that the artists are giving us, they're only going based off okay, is it going to make me feel this way in this amount of time? If it doesn't, it's trash. People are quick to just make judgment based off that and not really let things breathe. They don't let that happen. I feel like a lot of people, that's a lost art in today's culture. We kind of don't let things breathe. We don't let things marinate. We don't let things come out. We're so quick to judge and be like, it's garbage. First song in, garbage. Weak. Yeah. So let's talk about this guy right here. Let's talk about Drake. His recent album that just came out, For All the Dogs, right? Fat D. Keep forgetting that's an acronym. It's funny. For All the Dogs, right? The Discord on this is what kind of I kind of had the idea for this video a while back. But the Discord that I saw around this album helped, speed up the process of this video because it became more interesting and kind of fueled what I wanted to talk about. Personally, I like the album. You know, am I going to say it's his best? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not one of those people that's going to be, you know, saying that, oh, it's just the greatest album of all time. Because while you have on one side of the spectrum people who are willing to trash stuff and say an album is weak, you also have another side of the spectrum people who are willing to just praise and just say the album is the greatest of all time, blah, 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 just instantly. You know, again, you gotta let things breathe. Let it marinate, people. I don't think it's his best album, but I do think it's a good album to me. I still like it. And, you know, a lot of criticism I've been seeing out about the album is people saying, like, why is Drake approaching 37? He's still rapping about little petty stuff, this and the third, talking about women who are 25. And that thing is funny to me because, for one, we glorify a guy like Future who is pushing 40 or if it is not 40, you know, who kind of raps about the same thing. I like it. I don't fucking care. Two, what do you want? I feel like everybody expects as rappers get older to morph into like a Jay-Z type guy and, you know, to rap about finances and rap about, you know, I don't even fucking know about buying a house or settling down, having a family. That's not everybody's life. Like, there's people in their 30s, especially in this day and age, who still live a young, carefree life. Like, 30s are still young. If you really think about it, like, that's still not an old age when in the grand scheme of it all. But I feel like people have like this perception of what they think as a person getting older they should rap about. Now, sure, maturity comes with age, right? And I'm not saying Drake is immature, but there's definitely maturity in some of his music and how he's grown as an artist. And people will only fixate and say that, well, why is he this age rapping about this? You know, if you want to hear a certain rap, you can find that type of rap in different artists. It's out there. If you want to hear somebody be conscious and talk about that type of stuff, it's out there, you know? And let's say Kendrick Lamar, for example, you know, through his music, because I saw something online. I'm gonna bring this back around. I saw something online, and it made me think about, like, you know, how artists timestamp their lives through their music. Kendrick, for example, he timestamped his life through his music, coming from, like, you know, just the flower grew in the concrete from, you know, Compton and growing into this man to where he is now, Miss Morale and the Big Steppers. You know, coming a man who's, you know, gripping with his own type of morality and superstardom, his mental as a person, as a black man, and who he is, and his acceptance of himself, and feeling that, you know, I'm going to choose me. I'm sorry. That's how I feel it. Drake, you know, people feel like he's morphed into this misogynist. He's morphed into, you know, a petty guy, this, that, and the third. That's how you feel. That's how you feel. I like the music still. I ain't going over. I like the music still. I still think this shit bops. What does that say about me? Ooh. People think that he has fallen off because we don't get albums like a Take Care, and people getting fixated on thinking like we need the old Drake. I feel like everybody wants the old version of something, and they have like such a nostalgic attachment to an artist that if they don't live up to what they think in their heads, it should be like this. It should be like their past album that they have failed. And that's not the case. It shouldn't be the case with any type of artist. You know, you should want your artists to be able to keep up, obviously, with the current times, because times are changing. I feel like Drake has done a good job throughout time of keeping up with current artists. You know, that's one of Drake's biggest abilities, is to like still reach down and talk and, you know, collab with like younger artists, you know, with younger people, get ideas, you know, make music with them, and, you know, promote them, put them up on a pedestal, because the generation that's coming up now, you know, we looked up to Drake. And whereas like the older generation, I think Fantano did a good job explaining this, you know, the older generation didn't really appreciate Drake as he was coming up. So why would Drake go ahead and, you know, feed into a old head system of people who didn't show him his love and credit while he was coming up? Whereas the younger generation and my generation, you know, we appreciated Drake. We appreciate what he has done or what he has stood for in music and what he has become. So, of course, he's going to feed back into that system. And you can say like he's making music now, there's like Lil Yachty influence and stuff, and whatever you think, it still bangs. Drake is still going on tour, selling out arenas, still having number one albums, number one songs. It's not like his band has really declined numbers-wise, music quality-wise. I still think he's on top of his game. His penmanship is still there. I'm listening to this album now. There's bars I'm catching, like it was on Drew Picasso, and man, he had a bar about rappers being poor and he might as well live in Singapore. And at first I'm thinking like, wait, is Singapore a poor city? But then I thought about it. I was like, wait, Singapore. The singer is poor. You're not hearing the boy, bro. You're not hearing him. Even then, like Drake, overall, he's also evolved his sound. Because like he came out with a house-themed album last year, Honestly Nevermind, that, he actually was making like that type of music before in Passion Fruit. And people was trashing on that album because they couldn't get it. Everybody, again, was expecting a certain type of music, a certain type of album from Drake. And I think fans need to, or people in general need to, like, not set expectations. Because at least when I listen to music, when I listen to albums, what I try to do, I go to an empty mind. I'm going to see what the artist is going to give me. I'm here for the ride. I'm just going to enjoy what the artist gives me. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I don't try to go into stuff with expectations, thinking like, I'm expecting this album to be like this, and it better be the best album of all time. Otherwise, it's trash. That's why go into listening to a music and have an expectation? It's going to shut off all possibilities and all types of thoughts you can get from the album. Why have those type of thoughts and not try to listen to the album with an open mind and just trying to be, immerse yourself in the world that the artist is trying to build for you? Because that's really what an album is all about. So let's not cling on into this thought of, if this artist does not make an album like this, it's not good. Be open. Be open to what an artist is giving to us, and not think that because, back then, like 2016, Uzi was the best Uzi, as if like, come on, y'all better. Like, Uzi's still putting out good music, or just any artist in general. Like, those type of artists, like I said, a Travis Scott, a Uzi, a Tyler the Creator, The Weeknd, a Drake. These are guys who, the generation that I came up in, who are still around 15, 10 plus years later, and they're still on top of the game. Kendrick, a J. Cole, they're still on top of the game, really. Like, their crowns are not being taken by anybody new, at least to my opinion. Somebody's going to say like a young boy, or somebody's going to say a Lil Baby, or like one of those guys, but they still the top dogs, y'all. I don't know. I don't know who's taking that crown anytime soon. And to their greatness and to their credit, they have still, to those artists, or just artists in general who's been around for a long time in any type of genre, who are still on top of the game. There's a reason why they're still on top of the game and they're not falling off anytime soon. Because we always see artists who come and go, have a one-hit wonder, and they just go on the next, or they try to, or they have a formula of how they make songs, or they try to be trendy and try to make a TikTok song and just don't last. Those artists do not last, people. You may like those type of artists, but in reality of how they rap, or how they be successful in this industry, it doesn't last long for them. But for those type of guys who's been around, because really like an artist's career, you could say maybe their lifespan is like a year or two. Like after that first album until you go into your second album, whenever that may be, sometimes the following year or 2 years afterwards. After that, where they go from there and their success, it really determines a lot in their career. And a lot of artists fail. It's hard. It's already hard getting to that level. But staying there and sustaining that level of greatness is even harder. And I think we need to appreciate those artists who have still found ways to make good music that's relevant, that's still popular amongst their fans and amongst the general public, to still be on top and make, whether it's like their best albums or good albums in this time, and not fall off. It's hard to sustain greatness in the music industry. I think we need to give flowers to those who are still here.